Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast, joined, as I seldom am, by Pete
Penguin
Trbovich.
Pete, Pete Trbovich. Yes, I'm back again.
Big Penguin
I've,
back after a bit of a hiatus. Pete, of course, has co-hosted this show before. Giles Edwards, of course, is off this week, if you couldn't tell. Pete has co-hosted this show before, but may be better known to 366 viewers as the host of the actually more popular Weird View Crew on YouTube, where he does video reviews of some movies that are usually, I don't know how to describe them. They're often sort of maybe the biggest outliers among the films that we look at.
yeah.
They are sometimes they're very obscure.
Yes, and I get a thrill out of finding really oddball, undiscovered, weirdo, out there stuff, outsider art that nobody's even discovered. But I love finding that stuff. But the main fodder for the Weird View Crew is the reader request queue on the 366 Weird Movie site, where it says suggest a weird movie, and that's where everybody does that. So most of the movies we pick out of there. And
Yes,
I'm going to be back on that eventually. I've just been dealing with some other stuff, but there's a schedule he had us. Especially, I'm looking forward to reviewing a lot of horror movies come October, of course.
oh yeah, you've done a number that have not been from the reader view. I'd say you're doing about 50% would be my guess from the reader view queue, maybe a little
Yeah,
more, and then stuff like the astrologers movies.
yeah,
That
yeah. I'm never doing a two movie in one review again. That was a little crazy, but
um,
yeah, it's just so weird that both of these movies came out with the same title, same year, from two different people, and yet made many of the same mistakes. It's almost like you could believe in astrology just based on that, even though it's not.
all right. Well, we do have a lot to cover this week, although none of it's a lot of it's just news that we won't have too much time or too much to discuss. But let me see if I can get my screen share up. There I am.
I
And
would
we'll,
like to add, though,
sure.
the other reviewers at 366 Weird Movies are also welcome to submit videos, since I was referring to this as the Weird View crew, meaning like all of us could do a lot of these videos, and it wasn't just always me.
Well, if I had perhaps more video editing skill, it would make it easier for me to do that, but I wouldn't be against doing it.
Perhaps some of our other talents, Rob Hubbard.
I
Let's see
think,
here. There's Shane Wilson, I believe. Wasn't he in the Completist podcast as well?
yeah, I think we should kind of peer pressure Shane Wilson into doing one.
Yeah, or maybe Giles. I don't
I,
know. We put so much on Giles already. I feel bad for the guy. We work him to death.
yeah, well, actually Giles, gosh, we're getting a little inside baseball here, but I send out a list of movies to for people to review to a email list, and Giles always jumps first and grabs whatever he can, usually whatever's most popular or easiest to get, or if I have a free screener, he always comes back. He wants to review stuff fast. So,
Wow. Okay.
but
He likes to
let's
stay busy.
he does. Let's
Yep.
talk about what we're seeing right now. I'll usually have Giles describe what's on the screen for people who are listening in audio only version. I don't know if you feel up for that, Pete, but if
Wow,
you
sure. We're looking at David Lynch smoking a cigarette and looking off camera at somebody as if to say, "Are you kidding me?"
yeah, I like that. That's a nice to the point one. And do you know why we're looking at David Lynch to start off?
Because Netflix just canceled him, I believe. Is that what
Sort of,
happened?
yeah.
Yeah.
So the
So,
whole story is like a couple of weeks ago, news broke that Netflix had passed on a David Lynch animated project that he was going to produce, not maybe direct. It was written by somebody else, but he was involved in it, called Snoot World, and they passed on it. And this week, Lynch's producer, Sabrina Sutherland, went on a message board and publicly reported that Netflix had passed on another David Lynch project, something called Unrecorded Night, which was a TV project, not a Twin Peaks season 4, but a new project. And they just said, nah, David Lynch, nah, don't need him.
Yeah.
So,
was
Netflix,
it supposed to be set?
Was it what?
Was it supposed to be set in the Twin Peaks universe or something?
Well, we don't know. I guess we'll never know. People are speculating David Lynch had a project in development codenamed Wisteria, and people are suggesting that this may have been Wisteria. But yeah, we don't know anything really about it. We do know some more things Sabrina Sutherland said was that Lynch did have more ideas for Twin Peaks. Mark Frost, his collaborator, did not, but hadn't declined working on another season, but nobody had any firm plans. And she also says David's at the point right now, although he has ideas for movies and series, and he's made pitches that Netflix has turned down, he seems content just painting and making music. So there's a strong possibility that we won't see anything else from David Lynch again, because he is, in his 70s. And if Netflix won't.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Maybe
looking
he's
pretty good for 70, but yeah.
He's an old dude.
So
that's
man, that's a sad thing to think about.
Yeah. We're calling that bad news. Any further last thoughts on David Lynch not being able to get picked up?
It's more Netflix's, obviously it's Netflix's loss. On the other hand, Netflix's executive programming decisions have not always been sober. Yeah, that's sensible and realistic is not how I describe Netflix programming. So, I mean, Netflix basically got a good one with Black Mirror and taking a gamble on Charlie Brooker that paid off. Outside of that, I mean, they're HBO and Disney are kind of sort of kicking them off now. These days, if people want really good weird movie streaming, they go to Tubi. Tubi is the one that actually has more of the movies that, by my count, on our list than any other streaming service.
Yep.
But anyway, David Lynch cartoon sounds fascinating, but maybe we'll get to see it through some other venue.
Yeah, if he really pitches it, someone else will pick it up. So, on to the next item. Here we have would you like to describe this image?
That is Julia Ducournau at some kind of event premiere.
Yeah.
And she has one earring that looks like a giant safety pin, I guess. And anyway, okay, but she's talking about let's see here. She has a new project going.
She does.
And yes, and she's also the director of Titane, I guess.
Yes. Did you ever see Titane?
No, I never did. I haven't seen any of her work yet. There's dozens of
there's only two.
There's dozens of talent out there. I haven't gotten around to yet.
I imagine you can find Raw much more easily, which I think you'd like. It's just a little simple cannibalism movie set at a veterinary school. Titane is much stranger with car sex and a lot of gender bending, but she has a new movie in the works and we know nothing about it except the title Alpha. The plot is being kept under wraps. We can infer from the Variety article about it that the script is completed and that there are actors attached And we have a producer's statement, excuse me, that describes it as a new page in Julia Ducournau's corpus that is both very consistent with the previous ones and entirely new in its tone. And
right.
I find that a little probably disturbing because the tone was what we liked about the old Julia. So,
Okay.
um, so we know nothing about it, but she's made two movies. Both have been very much worth our attention. And so to hear that she's coming out with a third one is exciting news. A little concerned that she might make a turn towards the mainstream with that talk about new tone. Um,
Hmm.
but that's that. And any further thoughts?
Not much of one.
I wouldn't think so. There's not much
She's
to
on
dig.
my to watch list. I have a long to watch list.
Yeah, yeah. It's not much to dig into there.
Yeah.
Here
Oh,
is,
and this
yeah,
this is
describe this.
Salvador Dali.
It's an actor playing Salvador Dali.
Oh, it's an actor playing Salvador Dali, of course. And they
Yes.
really went all out with his famous mustache. They have it drawn halfway up his face in a little squiggly line with his eyes all bugged out. And it looks like he's holding some kind of cane
Yeah.
and turning around to the viewer, giving us that Phantom of the Opera just got unmasked glare, kind of. I guess I describe it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Salvador Dali, interesting nutball of a character, very pioneering artist, and this is a documentary about him.
No, it's a biopic. It's from
Biopic.
Quentin Dupieux, which means that it's going to be totally crazy,
Oh,
totally
good.
insane, totally in Dali's wheelhouse, and I imagine he would have loved it. The title is Daaaaaali with 6 A's, a D, 6 A's, L, an I with a little accent, and a exclamation mark point. Now, did you see Rubber by chance?
Rubber, the tire movie?
Yes.
Yes, I certainly did.
Well, this is the same director, so
Oh, goody. Okay, that'll be
he
fun.
doesn't he seem just perfect to do a Salvador Dali biopic?
Of course, that is basically the father of absurdism or Dada, as it were. I always like Salvador Dali's quote when somebody asked him if he does drugs, and he said, "No, I am drugs."
Yes. And so we've known that this has been out for a while. The reason we're mentioning it now is because it has officially US distribution. So we will get to see this in 2024. Almost a ringer to make our top 10 weird movies of the list, given the subject matter and the director. Music Box Films will distribute theatrically, and presumably, almost certainly, Music Box puts everything out on that they do out on DVD, Blu-ray, and VOD. So even though it will only get very light theatrical distribution, I'm guessing everyone will have no excuse not to have seen this by the close of 2024. It's Dali or
Dali,
Dali.
Dali.
We don't have
Okay.
any trailer for it yet, but that'll be exciting. Maybe there is one, I didn't find it, but that'll be exciting when it drops.
Yep.
Speaking of trailers, though, we did get a
Oh dear.
trailer for this one. So why don't you describe what we're looking at there, Pete, quickly?
Let's see here. Would that be the Megapolis shot?
Megalopolis, yeah.
Oh, Megalopolis. Okay.
It,
Megalopolis, and that is the Francis Ford Coppola movie that's coming out. And
hopefully.
as I understand it, this movie is supposed to have something to do with time travel or a person who has the power to travel through time, according to what I've seen described. The power to stop time, it says.
Oh, well, that was in, yes.
Yeah.
So you saw the teaser trailer, correct?
Yeah. I saw that, and and I'm reading the description on Vanity Fair. Let's see here. This guy in the picture, he reminds me of the guy who played Kylo in Star Wars,
For good reason.
and that's the same actor, but I just am drawing a blank on his name.
Adam Driver.
Okay, that is Adam Driver. Okay, all right. I never trust my own brain sometimes. Anyway, and he's standing in front of what looks like a corrugated aluminum or metal structure of some kind, or perhaps he just came through a triangular door instead because he's standing in front of that and glaring down at the camera in a brown suit and being very Adam Driver with that with those eyebrows of his. Those things are just a lethal weapon on the round.
And he's got the Roman haircut. Everyone in this movie has Roman haircuts because part of what we gather is that Coppola is drawing a parallel between America today and the Roman Empire in its decline. The teaser trailer just released this week, and you can see it. We will link it. You've probably already seen it if you're a regular weird movie shopper. Yeah, what happens in this is Adam Driver climbs out onto a high ledge on a skyscraper, looks down over New York City, and then that time stop thing kind of happens.
I see. Yeah, and this is Coppola, as I understand it, as he's working with this idea that he's had since childhood, and I kind of get an 8.5 vibe off of this project. Like this may turn out to be the big vanity project that Coppola makes just for himself, but doesn't do very good otherwise. What do you think, man?
Probably. He spent a bunch of his own money on it. He sold large, I think he sold the controlling interest in his vineyards to fund it with his own money because he couldn't find anybody to back it. So he's hoping it'll follow an Apocalypse Now type path where everybody complains about it and thinks it's going to be a bomb, and then it ends up being a huge classic. And of course, that's what we would hope for it too, but we shall see.
Coppola is full of surprises.
Yeah.
And honestly, really, it's my favorite kind of movie is when a director, especially a big shot like Coppola, stops and takes a break and says, I'm going to make a passion project just for me. And those usually turn out to be some of my favorite kinds of movies, even though they don't always go over big with the audience.
Something else, it's hasn't been released. It'll premiere at Cannes later this month in May. It has been previewed for a select group of celebrities and insiders, and people talk about the acting going up to 11 for most of these.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
And I do have actually a tiniest nugget of inside information on this film, which is that I know an insider who had the tiniest job on this film, and they gave me the tiniest bit of inside information about it, which I would now like to share with you. And that is that they are not allowed to share any information about the film before it premieres. So, but once it premieres, we may be able to get the tiniest insider to help talk about it and give us some insider insights.
Sure. Interesting cast.
Oh yeah. Do you have the cast in front of you?
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf, Dustin Hoffman, John Voight, Lawrence Fishburne, Jason Schwartzman, Talia Shire, Kathleen Hunter, some other names that I recognize, but definitely some big names in there. So, and to see Aubrey Plaza, Dustin Hoffman, and Lawrence Fishburne on the same screen, that's really going to be mind-boggling. That's interesting.
It should be a good time, even if it's a flop. However,
Yeah,
let's move on to the next one quickly. I think you can quickly describe what you see here.
it's a little cartoon. There's two panels, and one says me in a scribbled writing, and the other one says it's such a beautiful day, showing a little stick figure man outside on the sidewalk, forlornly viewing a barren tree planted in the same sidewalk.
Sure. Now, I'm a little late on this one. This one started touring early in May and just couldn't squeeze it in, but I wanted to mention
Okay.
to it. So animator Don Hertzfeld made It's Such a Beautiful Day in 3 installments, a existential psychedelic movie about this little stick man character as he goes through his entire life.
Hmm.
And he is re-releasing it, one night screenings only, touring the
Oh, wow.
country, playing a lot of Alamo draft houses, and accompanying it is this new film, which is simply described as a animated musical called Me, that's about 20 minutes long and is I don't know if it's before the feature or after the feature, but they're playing together. And in some venues, instead of It's Such a Beautiful Day, he's showing the World of Tomorrow trilogy and also Me. World of Tomorrow trilogy is equally interesting as It's Such a Beautiful Day. Certainly, the first one is a fantastic Oscar-winning short. Um, by any chance, Pete, have you seen It's Such a Beautiful Day?
No, I haven't. I know it comes from Bitter Films.
It does. Have you seen any Don Hertzfeld stuff?
I've seen. I mean, it rings a bell. What else? What else has he done?
He did a World of Tomorrow, which got the
Okay.
Oscar win, and he did a bunch of shorts called Rejected, which were a compilation of cartoons he did that were rejected for people for being too either gross, weird, or just genuinely oddball. Stuff like
Okay.
that. He's very independent animator, works in this stickman form generally, so kind of minimalist. Um, the several of the shows he was at, those shows have passed. Uh, we will have a link on the blog post where you can find out where this is playing. And I don't know what the future is for me. It'll show up in some form, I'm sure. If you can't get out to a screening, which let's face it, you probably can't, no matter how many venues they show it for one night only. So
Yeah.
there's got to be some way for people to see me down the line once this little project is over. But I think this is going to go, it's certainly booked all through May, the rest of May and into June. And they have dates in August, and we'll see how long they play this out. It's a good chance to revisit It's Such a Beautiful Day, which I will point out is a canonically weird movie.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so do Don Hertzfeld a favor if you can and go out and see it in a theater. But moving along, this one, a
Oh
strange
yeah.
bill. Um, a film, very obscure film. What can you say about what we're looking at here, Pete?
Well, this is we're looking at Time of the Heathen, I take it.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is a face, and there's a lot of color filtering going on here. So there's a red face surrounded by flames that have been imposed over the film footage.
Hmm.
When I watched the trailer on this one, it's this mostly black and white movie that goes off into some really psychedelic effects. I don't know if it's a dream sequence or hallucination or what, but it's pretty impressive for the year that this was made. Wasn't this? Let's
61,
see here. Say
1961.
what? Yeah, 61. So when I was looking at the trailer, they were doing some film effects that I didn't know they could do in 1961. But it's um might be a little bit ahead of its time. However, it's also an analogy of the bomb that we dropped on Hiroshima, and it's a story about like World War II, and I guess analogies or parables about that topic and about war in general. I guess. Am I paraphrasing too much?
No, I think
Okay.
so. What I'll add, nobody's seen it because it really hasn't been seen since 1961. It was found and
Ah,
has been restored and re-released. It was sort of an underground film at the time that didn't really catch on or didn't get, distributed at all. But it's a post-apocalyptic thing about a drifter who carries a Bible, gets framed for murder, and then the distributors now claim it culminates in one of cinema's most memorable, psychedelic, and unclassifiable endings, which is why
okay.
we are interested. Um,
Okay.
it's going to have a short run at art house theaters through the summer and will presumably show up on Blu-ray down the line, VOD, which is where most people will have a chance to hopefully check it out. It's from Arbalos Films, who have uncovered a lot of gems. They uncovered Belladonna of Sadness, the Japanese kind of psychedelic sex movie, witchcraft movie that had been missing for many years and kind of just blindsided people when they came out with that one because almost nobody knew it existed and they watched it and they were like, wow, this is a
Yeah.
cult movie.
Yeah. I have seen parts of that one at least.
Yeah. Well, that's a crazy one. And you know why that one didn't get distributed. It was way ahead of its time. And the rape scenes in Belladonna of Sadness are
Yeah.
kind of scary and sickening.
Yeah. A little too triggering for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was a different era. They did not skimp on showing the horror of the rape scenes, even though it's done in an abstract scene. But this is Time of the Heathen. Next movie, this is finally
Oh.
done its theatrical run. And Pete, tell us what you can tell us about what you see.
Oh, I'll try my best. This is a black and white still of a gal in, excuse me, fancy dress with a with another lady just behind her who happens to have a kind of doggy poochy face, as if she were her mentor and advisor. I saw the trailer on this, and there is indeed a dog-faced character going all the way through the story, and it's called Conann. I am Conann.
She is
She
Conan.
is Conann. Yeah, it's kind of a gender-flipped barbarian story, but more told. I guess going for that whole well it's supposed to be a lesbian epic too, and and kind of going for that Lucy Lawless appeal with from the TV series, I guess some of that, but at the other hand, some of it defies description. There's this talking dog face person. There's a bunch of there's some sword and sorcery type imagery, but there's also just all kinds of erratic just avant-garde scenery. The trailer was really wild, and it's kind of hitting me as a weirdo must see. I'm thinking this is probably at least apocryphal material I'm looking at. I'm betting just from what I've seen so far.
So we've been following this one a long time, news of it, and it's just out of theaters on VOD and I believe Blu-ray right now. And the sort of premise, I guess, is that there are six different women playing incarnations of Conan, the gender flipped version of Conan the Barbarian throughout time. It's from Bernard Mandico, who does surreal and very sexy films and has probably sort of a lesbian fetish, maybe to some degree. There's always lesbians in the movies. The sex scenes are not super explicit. There is frequent nudity in it. Parts of this are in black and white. I think most of it's in black and white. I think there are a few color sequences. And so 6 different stories, sort of like an anthology, I would suppose. Actually, I'm just here. Go ahead.
Oh, interesting premise, I was just saying, but yeah.
Pete, for some reason, you strike me as a Conan the Barbarian fan, and
Not hugely, but it's more like I've had so much of it thrust upon me that I'm more than familiar with the whole with the whole thing. But especially via like Mad Max. Mad Max is so close to being Conan, but after the apocalypse, you know. So there's that, and then there's all the movies that knocked off Conan and all the sword and sandals stuff. So yeah, I've kind of soaked up Conan by osmosis, but it's not like I was, a raging Conan fan or anything.
okay.
We're gonna have to go for it. I'm a lesbian fan. I'm a fan of dog-faced lesbians in leather jackets who act like a Svengali behind a barbarian warrior queen.
Well,
that's the vibe I'm getting off of this. I can't wait to see this.
This movie was made for you in that case.
Yeah, I think so.
Again, probably a shoe-in for our top 10 weirdest movies of 2024 once we've seen it, which shouldn't be too long. But moving on, here's one we discussed just a couple of weeks ago when it was in theaters somewhere. Now it's on DVD and VOD. We discussed it with Eric Kirsten from Academic, who was not too impressed by the trailer. You want to, well, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to describe to the poster, but do you want to describe what we do see, Pete?
Big old red poster. The title is Altered Perceptions, and it says George Amir film. And it shows I guess, the lead character just cordially holding a glass of flute of champagne, it looks like.
Right.
And with a grin on his face, like he's not at all in a weird movie.
And did you watch the trailer?
I did. Let's see here. I'm thinking it has something to do with like dream people or dream doppelgangers who come to people, and then there's an outbreak of suicides too. I picked up those things, and like there's these dream people like come to you and tell you things about the future or about you or whatever. That's as far as I could piece it together.
That's the kind of trailer it is, where you can't
Yeah.
really, you watch it and you're like, oh, what is this about? What we can say is it boasts that it was scripted by a neuropsychologist. So I get that there's some credibility there. And
Okay.
it's LGBTQ somehow in that I think that there's a pandemic that causes men to hallucinate, and there's a Trumpian senator who tries to blame it on gays. And I think there's also a naked man visitor who comes and visits the main character. And I will say one review I read, and this should perk your ears up, Pete, I think, casually sort of compared it to the work of Neil Breen.
Whoa! No. I don't even see from the trailer that it's on Neil Breen's level. Wow, I don't know who. Why is everybody comparing movies to Neil Breen now? For heaven's sake, that's nuts. Anyway, because that astrologer movie, one of the 2 astrologer movies, the one by Craig Denny, the guy who was just an indie guy who made his own passion project. Reviewer at Variety compared him to Neil Breen too, along with Tommy Wiseau. So I guess whenever an inept filmmaker comes along, people just now automatically say, "Oh yeah, Neil Breen or Tommy Wiseau."
This comparison was specifically in regards to the logic of the film's plotting, not necessarily to the acting or the special effects or anything. But we are running a little low on time, so let's get to our last one, which
Okay.
is something that got released straight to Blu-ray and VOD from, I think it's Rising Sun Media. It's called Katernica. You want to describe the Blu-ray cover, which is very
We have a
simple?
Blu-ray case with a woman with very blue hair. Kind of reminds me of Silencio from Mulholland Drive, that shade of blue. And it's a woman's face mostly obscured by hair with the movie title over it, Katernica.
All right. And did you see the trailer?
Yes, I did. I swear I did, but I don't quite recall it.
Well, since we are running out of
Because
time, I'll just,
all right.
it's something about a cursed play that people,
Oh yes,
I
a cursed
guess,
play. That's right. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, people, I guess, read this play and get trapped in it. And there's some, maybe some campy acting in it. It's British, very low budget, and has gone straight to DVD, but definitely looks weird in that deliberately and maybe kind of forced avant-garde style.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd say about that. So
Okay.
we got less than a minute and we got through everything. Do you have any closing words, Pete?
No, not that much. Except other reviewers can also review for Weird Review Crew, and we will be coming back with more Weird Review Crew soon. So
Uh,
I'm between clients and contracts, and I've been hustling with stuff, and things have been busy, but things happen.
okay, well, we
All
will
right.
then sign off with, I think Pete most wants to see, She is Conann.
Yeah, that's one. I'm
That's the
dying for it.
recommendation. Bye-bye.
I love it.